Welcome to the Potion Podcast, your raw look at the hospitality industry, brought to you by SHC. What is happening, Potion? Welcome back to another episode of the Potion Podcast. Of course, I'm your host, Soole. Last week's episode was how much does it cost to actually set up a restaurant? Now, I briefly went over, I gave you some key figures that if you're looking at like how much is actually going to set up, putting a spreadsheet together about buying a restaurant, business plans and stuff. If you want to hit me up, I actually have some really good boilerplate business plans that you can sort of look over and gives you nice pointers on those sort of things. But this week, I wanted to talk about the top 5 expenses for a restaurant or bar and what they should be percentage-wise. The amount of times I go into a new client and I go, what is your sales budget for the bar? What is your budget for cost of goods for the food? What is your labor cost? All these things, and they can't tell me numbers. And I don't think it's anything wrong with them not being able to tell me the numbers. I think that it is a fundamental sort of shot in the dark and not enough information out there in the world to really pinpoint what you should be doing. And so I'm going to give you some hard and fast figures. These are industry standards. But we're going to start off with the big one, food and beverage costs. So food cost, industry standard is about 25 to 35% of food sales. So 25 to 35% food cost is pretty damn good. Fine dining, you're going to get a little bit higher, 30 to 35% because of the cost of ingredients. And we've been talking about cost of ingredients in a lot of podcasts lately. So, and then casual dining and QSRs, quick service restaurants, about 25 to 30%. Mainly because sometimes the things, a smaller menu, I wouldn't say lower cost ingredients, but there's an opportunity to save a little bit of money there. Beverage costs. Depending on where you are. Now, again, these are industry standards for Canada. I don't know about the US. The US is very, very different. We have higher taxes here in Canada. This is just for Canada. I apologize for my American friends if you are listening. So liquor, 18 to 20% of liquor sales. I give you that one for sure. Wine, 30 to 40%. 30 is usually a good number to sort of aim for. Beer, 20 to 30% for cost of goods. Depending on if you're a heavy draft beer bar or a heavy bottle beer bar. If you're a heavy draft beer bar, you're usually on the lower side of that because draft beer is usually cheaper per ounce than it is in the can or the bottle. Non-alcoholic beverages, which is definitely increasing, is 10 to 15%. I think if you are really pushing for this non-alcoholic cocktail movement that is happening, it is happening, guys. If you're listening to this and going, non-alcoholic cocktails are not going to stick, they're sticking. A lot of non-alcoholic cocktail ingredients, the non-alcoholic spirits, are more expensive than regular spirits. So those costs are going to be a little bit higher if you really lean into that, making good non-alcoholic cocktail menu for your staff. So let's get into labor costs. Labor costs, if you can get fine labor right now, but I think that's finally leveling out. Industry standard for Canada is about 28 to 35% across the board total. So front of house and back of house. For front of house, you're trying to look at about 15 to 20% of total sales, depending on where you are. Some places have a much higher hourly rate, minimum wage, than you throw in unions and stuff like that. This is for independents in a decent sized space, like not a small space, not a big space, like a decent sized space. 15 to 20% of total sales. For back of house, now this one's the interesting one because I try to get this figure dialed in a little bit. For back of house, 12 to 18%, but that's 12 to 18% over total sales. One thing I find very interesting in our industry is that we take front of house labor and put that against total sales and back of house labor and put it against food sales. It still comes out to the same total, but it's just something that's a little bit different. So 12 to 18%, you're probably looking at about 30, I'm trying to do the math in my head, 28 to 32% against food sales if you're doing 60% food. Don't question my math on that one because I was probably horribly wrong. Rent and lease, we talked about this in the last episode. You want to be sitting around that 6 to 10%. Your lease should be sitting around about 6 to 10%. That's your sweet spot of your total gross monthly sales. If your lease is higher than that, then it may be because you're in a high traffic area, stuff like that. If you can afford that sort of lease, and remember lease is plus, so your taxes and triple nets, your total lease cost, look at that. If it's under 6 or like 6 to 10 is the sweet spot. But if your lease is higher than that, you either going to negotiate or you're going to figure out how to make more sales because you shouldn't be going into a venue or buying a venue or opening a venue if your lease is over 10% of your your gross monthly sales because you're not going to make any money. You're just chipping away at your bottom line. Marketing and advertising. Industry standard for marketing and advertising, which I think is pretty good, is about 3 to 6% of total sales. What do you do with that 3 to 6%? Do you do print media, which I think is tough to quantify these days? Billboards. Do you look at billboards when you're driving down the highway? Digital marketing is my go-to. 3 to 6% will give you so much more ROI. You'll be able to know exactly what demographic clicked on the ad, where they're from, what they looked at. It leads into your funnel on your website, knowing exactly where they go, what they look at, food menu, drink menu, that sort of thing. 3 to 6% I think is very good. If you're a new restaurant, just opening up, 6 to 10% sit there, and then established restaurants sit around 2 to 4. If you're fine dining, 5 to 6% of your gross monthly sales, meaning you've got a bigger per head spend, hopefully, and more covers. And then if you QSR, 3 to 5%. If you're not doing Facebook marketing, guys, Facebook marketing is so cheap. Literally pinpoint where your restaurant is. Do it like a 5 to 10 mile or 5 to 10 kilometer radius around your restaurant and just plug the crap out of that. If you're in a small market, at least you're getting loyal guests in that radius. Luckily enough, when I was in Singapore, we did it. And in Singapore, is such a small, densely packed little city. You were hitting like 150, 200,000 people in a 5 kilometer radius around the restaurant. So it really worked really well. But yeah, types of marketing, digital marketing, SEO. Make sure your SEO is really good on your website, please and thank you. Promotions and discounts, traditional marketing, and influencers, partnerships. Influencers and partnerships, you know what, let's take a step back. I'm going to reverse on that one. Types of marketing. Digital marketing, we're just talking about it. Google ads, Facebook, Instagram, SEO. Traditional marketing, print ads, billboards, radio, direct mail. I would even, digital marketing, email subscriptions have been surprisingly getting good traction again. So don't hesitate to collect email addresses, whether it be through reservations or pop up on your banner ad on your website, or just putting out an ad, getting newsletter signups. You might be surprised how many people will sign up and will become loyal guests. And if you do a promotion, you do an event, how quickly those guests automatically translate to sales. Promotions and discounts. I don't mind promotions and discounts. I don't like devaluing a brand. I don't like doing 2-for-1s. I like happy hours. I don't like giving away food because food is something that it's not like if you sell a whole bunch of bacon, the GFS or Cisco reps going, hey, I saw you sold a whole bunch of bacon. Here's a free case of bacon. That's not how it works. Liquor, on the other hand, you can do deals. You can do promotions. You can partner with brands. You can basically cover those expenditures through the brand. So be smart and clear about your direction you want to do for free stuff, because I think it does devalue the brand unless you're a QSR where it sort of makes sense. Depends on what sort of business you are. Influencers, partnerships. There is a tool called Ingrammer online. If you type in a Instagram account, it will give you everything like followers, how often they post, their engagement levels, all that sort of stuff. If they're an influencer, and I do this, influencer with 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 followers, but their engagement is below 2%, chances are they bought followers and those followers aren't actually engaged in their content. So be very wary. Whenever I have an influencer hit me up, I always audit their social media accounts to see if they are actually influencers or if they're just bought followers through multiple different places. So think of different influencers that you can do. Cruise ship staff. We did something I posted last week. We did something with the pedicabs, and now pedicab drivers are bringing us business. They're influencers. Look at influencers outside the norm of social media influencers. Did I miss a page? No, I didn't miss a page. Did I miss a page? Considerations. Considerations. Operational cost overheads. Insurance, you have a big stock inventory, insurance is going to be higher. You have a lot of fancy fixtures, insurance is going to be higher. Imagine how much it would cost to replace everything if you had a fire, a flood, all those sort of things. Those things influence your insurance, and your insurance agent is going to come, and you want to go the high side, so if anything ever happens, you still can reopen. Licenses, permits, maintenance, repairs for equipment, furniture, fixtures. I talked about that in the last episode. Also concludes cleaning supplies, linens, and other food non-related stuff. So I have a break-even calculator on my website. I might put it up again here. It will tell you a big long list of things I've compiled over the years from different profit and loss statements of things that you should take in consideration and figure out exactly what your percentage is. So key components of operating expenses. Now this is in percentages. Okay, we've talked about percentages the whole way through. Percentages are the best way to do. Percentages on the gross sales make more sense than looking at dollar figures. I get it, dollar figures are just important, yes, but percentages, if you're aiming for percentages, it really, really helps. Rent and lease payments, you're looking at 5-10%. We've talked about that. Utilities, you want to look at about 2 to 5%. So utilities are gas, water, internet, waste disposal. If you can get it down to 2 to 5% of your total sales, perfect. Insurance, you want to do, so liability, property insurance, workers' compensation, other necessary coverage. Usually it's about 1 to 2% of total sales. This is for your whole entire year. Then you 1 to 2% of your total projected sales for the whole entire year. Divide that by 12, and that should be your line item in your profit and loss, your projected profit and loss statement, or your break-even calculator. Repairs and maintenance, so kitchen equipment, plumbing, HVAC systems, general upkeep, 1 to 3% of your total sales, depending on the building and the equipment. Last episode we talked about buying an established restaurant or opening an established restaurant. This is a big reason. Supplies and cleaning, so cleaning supplies, uniforms, linens, paper products, and small equipment, usually just about 1 to 2%. Technology and software, again, accounting software, reservation software, POS systems. These are all those little costs that I said in the last episode that were like, oh shit, they will bite you in the butt. 1 to 2% of total sales. That's including, sometimes you have to lease your debit machines. So there's costs involved in getting your debit machines and keeping those up to date. So keep that in mind as well. Licensing and permits, 1%. So your monthly business license, your yearly business license, yearly liquor license, all these sort of different licenses that come about every year. What I usually do is either try and plug them into the month for when they're going to land, or try and spread them across the whole year, just so that you have that contingency in place. Miscellaneous expenses, again, credit card processing fees, office supplies, minor costs, sit around 2 to 3% of your total gross sales. Whew. So that was a lot of information in a short amount of time. Again, if you've got any questions, hit me up. I might even post these notes I've done in the description for the podcast and a few other episodes, so that you sort of can so you can sort of see where you're sitting and audit your business. Audit your business once every quarter. Like talking about costs, 5 top expenses, audit your business once every quarter and see where you're sitting, because it's a very, very, very easy thing to lose this sort of coin really quickly by letting these things slide 2%, 3%, 4%, especially liquor costs right now. I can only speak of BC liquor stores, but like the costs even at BC liquor stores are going up $2 to $3 to $5 a bottle. If you're doing $5 bottle increase, but you're not including your base price, then you're starting to lose cents and dollars. As I had someone tell me many years ago, watch the cents, the dollars will look after themselves. So on that note, thanks as always for watching, guys. See you soon. Bye.
Thanks for listening, Pose Shifters. I hope you enjoyed that episode. I really enjoy sitting down with friends and peers and just chatting about the industry and getting down to the nuts and bolts of what's really going on out there. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, everything on all the platforms. Just hit it up and I'll do my best to answer any queries or questions you have. I'll see you next week, guys. Bye.